If you are struggling with anything hair, skin, and nails, I have the solution for you. I was just on a call last week with Stacy, the founder of Wellbel, and they have so many fun things in the works that I can't wait to announce very, very soon. But if you've never heard of Wellbel, you have to go check out my Instagram highlight titled Wellbel to see the most insane hair growth and glow up of all time. Not to toot my own horn, but it's pretty wild. So if you're ready to start your glow up journey or are experiencing any hair loss, you've got to try out Wellbel. All you have to do is go to wellbel.com. That's WELLBEL.com and use code Veronica10 at checkout. That's code Veronica10, VERONICA 10 at checkout for all things Wellbel. Hello, and welcome back to Martinis and Bikinis. I am your hostess, Veronica Droulia, and I am so freaking excited for you guys to hear this episode today because it is with an actual ray of sunshine of a person, and her name is Davia Esther. You may recognize her from the Bachelor franchise, but in today's episode, we really got to know Davia on such a deep level, and to be totally honest, we got so vulnerable, and I just love having people on the show that are so open and so magnetic, and the show is truly all about self-improvement and just paving your way through your 20s. And I think that Davia is such a good example and is so insanely emotionally intelligent. So today we are chatting all things pageantry. In case you didn't know, Davia was actually Miss South Carolina and competed at the Miss America competition. We discuss her pre-professional ballet journey and how that impacted her early beginnings, grief, emotional intelligence, starting a career in wellness, routines, solo dates, and all things self-healing and self-improvement. I don't want to give too much away because we get into it in today's episode, and I am so excited for you guys to hear this chat. So, without further ado, please welcome Davia Esther to Martinis and Bikinis. Hello, and welcome to Martinis and Bikinis, the podcast for everything under the sun. I am your hostess, Veronica Droulia, and I am here to help you navigate your 20s through all things lifestyle, beauty, and fashion. So, if you're ready, let's dive into today's episode. Oh my gosh, well, Davia, welcome to Martinis and Bikinis.
Oh, yes, happy to be here.
Cheers, we have a dirty martini.
Oh, my favorite.
Yes.
And an olive.
Cheers. It's vodka.
Mm-hmm. That's a good martini.
It is good.
I like it.
It's from the Equinox Hotel. I was just telling you about how I'm a horrible bartender. So basically, whenever I have drinks for guests, I will go to a bar, order a drink, and we'll throw it in a Stanley cup. And it's totally illegal, but
yeah, your New Orleans is coming out.
It is. It seems right.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
No, I'm an actual terrible bartender. Whenever I was in Charleston, my ex at the time, like his thing was to make drinks. And so one night I decided I would make us our cocktails, but I didn't realize that what you measure the shots with, instead of doing like 1 ounce, I was doing 2 ounce pours like twice for all of our drinks. And I just got hammered, and he like couldn't understand why I was so drunk, but it was just because I didn't know how to make a cocktail.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. We've all been there.
Yeah, it was kind of nice though.
You had fun.
Yeah.
I love that for you. Well, I usually like to just start these off with having you tell us a little bit more about yourself. So call it the roots.
The roots.
Yeah.
Aw.
I
Okay.
know. So anything that you want to share, feel free to get as vulnerable as you like. But yeah, anything that people might not know about you, where you're from, all the things.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Well, I'm Davia.
Hi, Davia.
Davia Esther. Do you have a last name?
You
That
also
is
have
not
like the
Esther.
most badass name.
Thank you.
It like just sounds like someone very important. And you are.
Thanks. No, so the story behind that, growing up, my dad was a pastor in South Carolina. And he and my mom used to tell everyone that my name is like the feminine word for David. It means cherished or beloved. It's Hebrew, which it is. But the real story that they never told people was my dad was in college and there was a band that he really liked. And the lead singer was a girl and her name was Davia. And I think he just like had a crush on her and she was really hot and he liked the name. So that's really where it came from.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I ended up getting to meet her once. Backstory, I competed at Miss America when I was 21, so in college. And one of my Miss America sisters just randomly texted me one day. And she's like, hey, like, where'd you get your name? So I told her that story and she was like, no way. Like, is the name of this band's like yada, yada, yada? And I was like, yeah. So apparently the Davia that I was named after was doing her hair for some sort of photo shoot. And so I got to FaceTime and meet the woman that I was named after.
Wait, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
What a full circle moment.
I know. Yeah. She was blonde. She's still hot. So
good for her.
Hopefully it's going to rub off on me one day.
Oh my gosh. Oh, stop. Like Davia squared. Y'all are just running the world.
Davia squared. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. No, you're stunning. You were glowing. I can't wait to get into all of the like routine stuff that you do too.
Please.
Yeah.
No, but some backstory on me. I born and raised in South Carolina. I like feel like I've tried so many different things in life. So a lot of people know me from different facets. So whether it's from ballet, like I studied ballet pretty seriously when I was younger. Yeah, I danced in Russia. I used to spend my summers coming to New York and like dancing at Juilliard at different summer intensives. And then I gave that up. And then I somehow got into pageantry. So then I competed at Miss America. And then after that, I got into The Bachelor. And then now I'm like living in New York, working a full corporate job and like micro influencing on the side. So I feel like there's so many different facets that like led me to the point that I am now. But those are usually like the three things that a lot of people know me for. It's either like ballet, pageants, or The Bachelor.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like you're so multifaceted.
Thanks.
That's super cool. I feel like you've lived so many lives.
Yeah. No, it definitely feels like that.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And how is it competing in such a enormous pageant and winning and like having that just experience of being in the limelight?
Yeah. So like backstory, whenever I decided that I wasn't going to pursue ballet anymore, it was a really hard decision just because I grew up training my entire life. Like I studied Russian ballet like really intensely. It got to the point where at 18, I decided not to go to college. I just didn't see it as an avenue for my career. I really only wanted to dance. I auditioned for a couple of ballet companies. I got into Orlando Ballet. I got a contract with them. And then I ended up like not signing and going to my first year of college. But the only college that I applied to was my state university because they had an amazing Russian department and ballet department. So after my first 2 years there, it was really hard for me to make friends because I was in ballet classes with girls a lot older than me. I was in a sorority. All the freshmen were in different classes than me in the dance department. And then my second year ended up injuring my back. And I got so burnt out from ballet. I was just like threw my hands up and I was like, we're done here. So I didn't know like what to do with my time and I didn't know how to make friends. So I found this America organization. I was like, okay, like I'm going to pursue college now. I didn't really mentally prepare for what student loans look like after college. I was already $25,000 in debt. And the Miss America program and Miss South Carolina in general gave out $40,000 in scholarships. So I was like, okay, this is a way for me to make friends. It's a way for me to keep dancing because they have a talent competition. And I was like, I've watched Miss America before. I was like, my talent's gonna be this is gonna be pretty good. And then I kind of went into it like with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, but then also I like was severely humbled. Like I had no clue what I was doing my first year. I actually looked like a teenager. I was 20 and everybody thought I was competing in the teen competition. And I was like, no, I'm a miss. But it was one of the best experience of my life. I think my first year I won a talent award and then I placed top 10. And then I just like have this grit in me that if I have my mind set to something, I'll do like anything in my path to like work really hard for it. So I think that entire next year, all I focused on was preparing for Miss South Carolina and I was able to win. And to this day, a lot of the girls that I met at Miss America are still some of my best friends. Like, and a lot of them live here in New York too. So it's been really nice, like getting to see all the girls again and then also be friends, but also work together in a professional light too. So it was fun. I think competing in Miss America and then also like the pre-professional ballet world, like there's a lot of competition there. Like girls can get really mean. You never know how to like fully open yourself up and be vulnerable with someone because everybody's your competition.
Right.
But I think through competing at Miss America, like I developed so many close relationships. It allowed me to like trust people a little bit more. And yeah, it was like a really intense year. I learned a lot about myself. I'm really glad I did it, but I also think it stripped away a lot of my college experience because I was 21. Like, I wasn't allowed to go out. I wasn't allowed to drink. Like, I wasn't allowed to party. And so my college experience, because of dancing and because of Miss America, is like very different than a lot of other people. But still to this day, like, I wouldn't be like graduated debt free without it. So yeah, I'm really happy for all of it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like it's super interesting that you were able to have that experience at such a young age.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely teaches you so much confidence and I'm sure self-awareness. But it's crazy because I didn't know much about the ballet world. And
Yeah.
I've had on guests that have been professional ballerinas. And it's just so wild. The mental, emotional, physical,
Yeah.
just repercussions that it puts on you and your body.
Mhm.
And it's such an athleticism that I think some people don't understand. And
Yeah.
there's so many injuries and it's just wild what you can do. And I'm so glad that, you know, it wasn't worse. And
Yeah.
I'm sure like recovering from that injury was like really tough though.
Oh, yeah. So like basically we were doing a lift where he like the man puts me above his head. And then he like basically throws me in the air, does a little pop. And then I do a spin in the air and then he catches me. And I just like really tweaked my back. But at that point, like you said, there's so much like mental and emotional fatigue that goes through like trying to get a career in professional ballet. Like, and especially going from ballet to pageants, I went from one arena where your entire life and your career is focused on like your ability, your success, but then also it's like how you look and like how your success is defined by like your talent, how you look, how skinny you are, and like appraisal of other people. And I went right into an industry where it does the exact same. So my worth was also identified in like, do people think I'm smart enough? Do they think I'm pretty enough? Can I walk good in a swimsuit? And so I think like giving all of that up and actually like taking time to like mentally like, I don't know, address like all of the physical harm that ballet had put on my body for years and then the mental harm that both like ballet and pageantry have put on my body over the years was really important for me like after all of those years. Because I do think like growing up in those environments, and a lot of girls in the South do it, going from like ballet, dance to pageants, where you're just like taught that like your worth is defined by other people and your worth is defined by how you look and like what like food is on your plate and what you consume, that it gets like really tough. And that is what triggered. So when I was in Russia, I remember specifically getting told that as a 17-year-old, if you didn't weigh, it was something crazy, like under 110 pounds, like you weren't allowed to like partner with boys because you have to be small enough for them to lift you. And I remember like since then, like that whenever I came back, like it indoctrinated in me like a really bad like eating disorder. And I felt like I wasn't worth anything if I wasn't a certain size. And then going through pageants, I really tried to not fall into that again, but still like you have to cut your body to be the leanest that you can for a bikini because you want to look good and you want to feel good. And I think my first year I really did it in an unhealthy way. I sought out the advice from like trainers who were not pushing me to live a healthy lifestyle. They're just pushing me to like cut as much weight and fat as I can.
Calorie deficit and just all of the jargon that you hear, I'm sure.
I had a trainer told me if I needed a snack during the South Carolina week, I can eat ice chips. And if I'm really tired, I can take a scoop of honey. I was like, at that point, I was like, what? Also, just like the amount of calories I was supposed to be burning, like what I can consume, it was actually ridiculous. And so like I'm always get so nervous, like trusting advice from other trainers because there's a lot of bad trainers out there and there's a lot of bad nutrition advice out there.
There's just a lot of bad experts out there, people that claim to be experts in anything. And you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And it's sad that people have these positions and they don't use it for the better good. They kind of use it to probably just get results in a very unhealthy way. And that just, I guess, looks good on their behalf. I don't know. I can't understand or wrap my mind around why people would give people just really toxic advice like that. Yeah. But
especially just like young impressionable girls.
Yeah. Like, it's always that. And that's, I think, what frustrates me the most about, those situations.
Yeah, but after going through that, so I have like an autoimmune disease. So that's what really got me into like health and wellness, not only for like how my body looks, but how it functions. And so like going through that stress on my body triggered the start of it. And so after I competed at Miss America, I remember like waking up and I was so depressed, like fatigued. I couldn't get out of bed. I was like gaining weight really rapidly. And everyone was telling me that, oh, like you're just sad. Like you didn't do as well in Miss America as you wanted to. Like this is so normal. And I was like petrified of like going from my stage ready body to like being a normal person again. And whenever it was happening super suddenly, it really made me scared. And I felt like I couldn't control my body anymore. And so I remember putting on a pair of pants that I wore to Miss America. And it was 3 weeks later for my little sister's birthday. And I literally couldn't button them. And I was like, what is happening? I gained 15 pounds in 3 weeks. I was like, something's off. I ended up like going to the doctor, getting a ton of test runs. And that's when I found out that I had my autoimmune disease. So going from someone who like struggle with an eating disorder, like put a lot of pressure on like what my body looks like and not necessarily how my body functions. Like that was the switch in my life where it really like led me to have a healthy lifestyle, just not because like I want it for aesthetics, but because my body needs it. And if I want to feel my body, if I want to feel my best, like if I want to like actually function like a normal human being, like I have to treat it with such care. And so that's where like all of my health and wellness goody lifestyle came from.
I love that. I feel like once you are exposed to the health and wellness scene, you just feel so invigorated. And it's just like an epiphany moment where you start to feel good, you start to look good, and you start to treat people like so much energetically different. I feel like, you know, because I think when you truly feel so good from the inside out, then that starts to project onto other people in a really healthy, positive way. So I think that's, obviously it's like horrible what you had to go through. And it's interesting because I always say that people that do get into the health and wellness scene, there is some story to that. And I feel like it just makes the most interesting people because you have been at this really low point and you're able to rise above and really conquer your own just negative thought patterns and limiting beliefs and push forward. And it's a great community. So I'm glad that you found it.
I know. I feel like you said, everybody who is really into health and wellness, I think there are a lot of empaths because they've learned how to be so kind and receptive to their own bodies. They adopt that self-care to like other people. And so it's really just like some of the most like thoughtful people I've met, and especially being in New York, which I was so scared that there was not a health and wellness scene in New York, but there are, and the people were so sweet.
I know. It's been the most shocking thing to me, honestly, because I think you always hear in the movies how people are so terrible and it's so lonely here. I've never felt less lonely.
Really?
Yes. Like obviously there's times where you feel a little isolated, but
there's a lot of FOMO that goes on in the city, but that's also, it's not loneliness. You're like, wow, my apartment's so tiny. Like what could I be doing outside of it? And if you don't have plans, like I feel like you can feel like you're lonely, but there's so many people here and there's so many things to do.
So much opportunity. So much accessibility. But I have a question for you because I feel like this is something that a lot of people that are in the content creation space probably struggle with, because I feel like you're just like constantly looking at yourself. You're constantly having to compare and doom scroll and all the things. Do you feel like being in the content creation space is kind of like a triggering thing for you in any way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's what you decide to feed yourself with and what mental state you're in.
For sure.
So whenever I got back from The Bachelor, I was at a really, really, like really low point. There was like a guy that I really liked that it didn't work out with. And my doom scrolling became comparing myself to other girls who were like getting into relationships or like had a ton of followers on Instagram models, or like what I thought that the guys that I liked wanted. And so if you were to look at my explore page at that time, it would have just been super skinny girls, like hot girls, Instagram models. And I felt like that was like a reflection of what my mental state was and like the insecurities that I had on myself. And that became really hard because I was constantly flooding myself with like, who are these guys following? Like, oh, like they like these girls, like they don't look like me. And then there is so much like, honestly, just like AI or just like filtering and face tuning and like angles that go into every single photos. It can get depressing and it can get really hard. But since then, and since putting a lot of effort into like making myself the best version of myself I can be. I try not to filter my social media to be a projection of like what I want to be or what I feel like I should be.
Yeah.
And I use it as a tool to help me get to the place that I want to go to next. And so now my explore page is like a lot of like tips for Instagram analytics. I work in marketing, so it's a lot of marketing pages. It's honestly now, if I can go to my explore page, it's so much creativity, it's so much insight, it's so much education that I can open it and it gives me all the tools to become better at not only my full-time job, but also my content creation job. And I think like just that switch is my switch in mentality of like what I want and what I'm seeking out. Like if I'm seeking out someone to make me feel less than myself, like I'm going to find that on social media. But if I'm using social media to help like build my business, my practice, my content creation, like I'm going to find that and I'm going to like flood social media with that. So it is hard. And I've spoken to a lot of creators that like you're constantly looking at yourself every single day.
Oh yeah.
It's so difficult to have a job that, especially like even a part-time job that focuses around you. But if you could use, and my advice is if you can use like your time on the app to not make it about you and make like your editing about you or like, you know, the content creation about you when you're on app, like it's really about like the community. And so if you just like start to use social media in a different way, it becomes really helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was something that I knew that I was doing.
It's so subconscious.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you bring up the Discover Explore page because I think that is like a reflection of your brain almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, what I'm consuming is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And even if it's subconscious, it's there somehow. And yeah, I think filtering it is really important and making sure that you're digesting and consuming valuable content that's only going to improve your mindset and who you are is a great thing to say. It's a tool. It's meant to be used as a tool, and it's definitely gotten jaded throughout the years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like if you would have looked at it a couple of years ago, you would have thought from looking at my explore page, I was like a horny 24-year-old boy with the amount of like hot, like unattainable women were on there. Like it was so bad. So I'm like you just gotta like also like trim the fat. Like if you're following people or pages that aren't serving you and making you feel the best version of yourself, like unfollow, like block, delete. And I did that for a while. And now like you're like, okay, like she probably works in marketing and she loves health and wellness and puppies and likes bikinis.
Yes,
so
yes,
it's a mix of everything now.
I think we're just our own worst critics.
Yeah.
And I think with social media, it just gives us more accessibility to tear ourselves apart. And yeah, I think it's just, it can be a toxic place, but if you learn to utilize it in the correct ways, it can help your business. It can help your education. There's so many great elements to it too.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that people are really going to benefit from hearing this because you're drop dead gorgeous. Like you have like just so many amazing things going for you. And the fact that that's something that you have struggled with, like anybody can struggle with it. Like we're all so human. And I think unfortunately, like we all have those doubts about ourselves sometimes, but I think if we learn to find that love from within and just really harness that energy, good things start to come from there.
It does. My dad always used to say, like, compare and compete, you live in defeat. And that's something that
I love that.
It's really good. He's told me that ever since I was a little kid. And so that's something that I've always tried to take with me, because if you're constantly just like trying to measure yourself up, like in your career, in your relationship, like to other girls, like you're never going to feel fulfilled and you're never going to be giving. So you're always like giving energy. So either you can be giving energy out, the energy that you have, to negative things, or you can be using that energy that you're giving out in comparison to energy that you have, like, okay, well, I'm not where I want to be. Like, what are the tools that I can get to help me? So yeah, I feel like it's all about energy. I feel like that's
I'm so into energy.
I know you do.
Yeah, like I think that's my most overused word.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. Like we are all energy.
Yeah.
And the way that you just use your energy and utilize it towards other people, towards your environments, I feel like it definitely creates just an impact for how your life is going to be the rest of your life. And just making sure that you have good energy and you're spreading that is so essential, not just for yourself, but for the people around you too.
Yeah. And even like your thoughts too. Like if you're constantly like waking up and you're giving bad thoughts in your head, whether it be like I don't want to wake up this morning, like, but I have to get in my alarm. Like, I have to wake up. I have to go to work. I have to do this. Like, oh, I don't look this beautiful. Like, let me cover up this pimple. Like, like if you're just constantly talking to yourself that way in your head in like a negative light, like, of course, you're never going to feel fulfilled and you're never going to feel happy. But if you can start retraining your thoughts and like celebrating little wins, or like waking up and like being excited to start the day, which is easier said than done, or like being grateful and like practicing gratitude and like practicing self-love like within your thoughts, like that changes your energy. It makes you more excited to do things. It makes you a happier person, and it makes you find like your like beauty in yourself that you didn't realize you had, if that makes sense. Like I think I'm at a point where the older that I get, the more that I truly love myself and the more that I think I'm beautiful, because I'm like falling in love with like little things that are like just me, or like I'm falling in love with like things that have like built me to the person that I've become. And it's really hard, but I do think it comes with age.
Definitely. And we're so uniquely us.
Yeah.
And I think it's about learning to really love those unique qualities about ourselves, because you don't want to be just a carbon copy of somebody else. And I think that's kind of what the internet does too. It creates these like unrealistic beauty standards. And just, I think it's important to really embrace those qualities of ourselves that you don't really get to see online, or even just like the parts of ourselves that maybe like we've been insecure about at some point in our life. Like that's what makes us us. And I think it's a really beautiful thing.
It is. And then even in New York, like there's so many different types of people here.
For sure.
Like there's no carbon copy that you like. If you feel like you want to look like a X, Y, and Z mold, you're going to see 12 other people who are also just as cool in a different mold. And you're like, okay, well, like if I want to look like this, they're looking like this. Like, I don't know. Everybody just looks different. So you're really forced to find individuality here.
For sure. Like nobody wants to be an AI girl.
Yeah.
Like how boring is that?
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's like really great to embrace how different we all are. And yeah, I think I love your dad's quote. I think that's so special. And something that I always say is comparison destroys personality.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. Because whenever you are constantly comparing yourself, you aren't able to show up as yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're probably really deep in your intrusive thoughts and just not able to show up as the best version of you. So I think, everybody
wants to relate to someone.
For sure.
And if you can't be relatable, like through your digital presence, and you can't like have the confidence to be yourself, like you're never going to get anywhere. Like there's only so many times that you can post like a hot picture and expect growth.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
You have to give like something for people to believe in, and people believe in like relatability and like your story and like who you are. And that's something that I've like trying to become more comfortable with in social media too.
Yeah, it's hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool about you going on the show is you're kind of forced to be vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And slapped it in the face.
Yeah. But I always find that you're right. I relate so much more to people that are willing to share more of their story. But sometimes it almost feels weird just like sharing those parts of yourself, because you're like, do people really care about this? But it's cool to find those communities that have been through those experiences or are just like inspired by you for being able to step up and share your story. So I think it's a really cool thing. But yeah, it can be really hard to overcome that and share it with the general public or whoever's willing to listen. And I think it's something that I battle with too, even on this podcast.
Yeah, it is hard. And I think for me, one thing that I've always been really vulnerable, and like it's been easy for me to share my story, because like I got to use that in pageantries. Like you have to have a platform, you have to have something to talk about. So I got really used to being able to open up and share like things that I've gone through in life, or like my hardships, because I had to, and it defined a portion of success. And I felt like at the time sharing my story made me a stronger person. But over the years, it's become a lot harder for me to share vulnerabilities if I feel like it's not something that makes me into a successful person, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So it was easy for me to talk about things like if I felt like it boosted me. And now I'm trying to get comfortable with talking about insecurities or like talking about vulnerabilities, even if it doesn't make me look better, because like that's relatable too.
Yeah, I always find that whenever people do those things, I just feel like they're the ultimate cool girl, like
Oh,
whenever they
yeah.
like are able to like share when they messed up or
Yeah.
things were chaotic or things were just like not going their way. It's like, oh, I've been there. Like, you go, girl.
Yeah,
Like,
no, honestly.
thanks for stepping up and like sharing because it makes me feel a lot better
Yeah,
about.
and then you just eat it up.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And going back to gratitude, I think something that I really like is I don't have to do this. I get to do this. And yeah, I think that's like really great that you have that mindset. And
Yeah, you have to.
yeah.
Especially living in New York.
Yeah, exactly. And I know like it seems like you're an advocate for like so many different things. And I know you practice a lot of advocacy.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to share more about that. Pageantry world, you did a lot of advocacy as well that's transferred over into like your platform now.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to share more about that.
Yeah. So backstory is I felt really lost in college for a lot of different reasons. I spent my entire year or my entire life pursuing this dream of being a professional ballet dancer. And my mom rode that dream with me. She was like my biggest champion. She taught ballet when I was younger. And then it got to the point where I come from like a very humble beginnings, like very low income, like, and my mom was teaching ballet classes for me to even like afford going. So she'd trade off teaching the younger girls for me to get free classes. And when I was in middle school, she had cancer ever since I was a kid. And when I was in middle school was when it got really bad. And so while even she was getting like chemo treatments, she was still teaching dance. So I could continue my dream. She ended up passing away when I was 15 from blood cancer. And so that gave me more ambition than anything to continue dancing because I had this feeling that I can't give up on something that my mom worked so hard for me to do. And it kind of morphed into like it was my dream, but I was holding on to it for so long because I felt like it was like the last piece of her that I still had. And so whenever I gave that up, Miss America gave me an opportunity to use that tragedy in my life for something better. And so I, even before Miss America, started volunteering with Be the Match, but I got to spend a lot of my time signing people up for the bone marrow registry to be matches for people with blood cancer.
Yeah.
And so that gave me such a huge purpose. And during my college years and as Miss America, or sorry, not Miss America.
Oh my gosh, manifesting.
Yeah, no.
It's not too late.
I know. Hi.
Here she is, Miss America.
Oh my God. I know. As a South Carolina, I spent my entire year signing people up for the bone marrow registry, speaking about blood cancers. And that gave me such a huge purpose. And then, I mean, I'd still work with Be the Match like a couple of times. It's something that every day that I'm like trying to educate people on or like talk to people. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was getting tested for my thyroid, doing casual, like, I don't know, checking my levels. And I met a guy there and he was getting blood tested too. And he told the front desk that he was there for Be the Match. I was like, are you getting tested? And he was like, yeah, I joined the registry a couple years ago and I just got a call that I was a match. So we're doing preliminary blood tests to see like if I can continue with being a bone marrow donor. And so he was talking about how he was a little bit scared of the process. He didn't really know what it was going to entail. Being able to tell him how easy the process is and actually like explain fully that it's just like giving blood, like they do it through stem cells now. And even being able to tell him like how rare it is to have a match and how the likelihood of, the younger you are, the stronger your stem cells are and the healthier they are. So that's why it's important for a lot of young people to sign up for the registry, like 18 to 25, because you have the highest success rate of having a successful bone marrow donation.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just like has been my purpose of like speaking out about that and I don't know, just helping like facilitate the process in like any way that I can. And so, yeah.
I think it's great to turn pain into purpose or passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's so admirable that you were able to do that and are still doing that.
Thanks.
And yeah, I've unfortunately lost a parent as well. And yeah, it's tricky to navigate that. But once you find a reason for just, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like whenever you find that purpose it almost just feels like so aligned. And it's like, okay, like I feel like I was meant to do this and I was meant to be an advocate for this. And I think it's such a fulfilling feeling and it really makes you feel so much closer. And I am so spiritual, but I feel so incredibly connected whenever I am doing advocacy work. My dad was an addict, so I'm on the board of directors for a nonprofit, and it's been like so great. But grief is like such an interesting topic, and
oh my God,
I think it's like something that you struggle with for the rest of your life, and
you do,
but it's about like what you said, just finding ways to talk about it in a way that's just going to transfer over to your higher self. And I think helping people is a great way to do that.
No, it is. It gives you like purpose beyond just like your career and like your relationship, because it ties like the core of who you are and like being able to share that with other people.
For sure.
But even like how you talk about like grief is such an interesting process, because I feel like whenever, I don't know how you dealt with losing your parent, but whenever I lost my mom, I feel like I ran away from grief as much as possible. Like I tried to bottle it down. I did not try to like really emotionally process what had happened. Like I think I danced in Russia like the next summer. I was like barely involved in like my family's life. I went to college and then I pursued Miss America. I did not even stop to like check in with myself and to really process it. And I remember being on The Bachelor, we were asking, like you get asked so many questions, and I have talked about losing my mom to cancer like up and down being Miss South Carolina. So it was really something that was easy for me to talk about. But it was the first time in my life where I had to process, or I was asked the question that losing my mom was really hard, but how was it hard for me like also feeling like I lost my dad in that too, because my dad got married that year, that same year, to someone else. And so that actually changed the way that I was thinking about how I like was emotionally processing what that loss meant, like losing my mom and losing my dad too. And so I feel like if you're not at a place to like fully process grief, it, like you said, it follows you for the rest of your life. And that was, I mean, I was 15 when I lost my mom, and The Bachelor, I was 25. And I felt like I went through a severe like depression and anxiety because I was finally for the first time like going through the stages of grief years later. And it took just like looking at the situation in a completely different lens. And I had to do the work. Like I had to go to therapy. I had to learn like how did that situation when I was 15 like change my emotional attachment and how I showed up in all of my relationships, and like what like bad triggers has that moment like left in my life that I actually need to like work through and process and like ask those really hard questions. And so like if you don't tackle like grief or PTSD or trauma, like it will constantly like follow you, and it will show up in ways that you don't even expect it. It's like ways that you like lash out against your partner, or it's like ways that like maybe you avoid really hard situations, or even it's like ways where you're overly loving and hard to trust other people. Yeah, it was like really hard, and like grief is just so interesting, but we all will go through it at some point. And I think like the most important thing you can do is like have the tools to work through it. Do you feel like it made you insanely emotionally intelligent, just like going through something really traumatic at that age? It has, and that's made it really hard like on The Bachelor and in dating, because I feel like I've gone through so much in my early childhood and through losing a parent, where I am like really in tune with my emotional intelligence. And not only for like, also especially like after doing all of the work too a couple years ago, but also because like I know the importance of what it means to love someone and lose someone. And so when I show up in a relationship, like I show up like really giving it my all. And that makes it really harder. It makes it a lot harder when things don't work out in dating too. What, do you know your attachment style? Yeah. I'm disordered attachment. Me too. Disorganized? Yeah. I know, I always call it the wrong thing. Me too. It's like you are extremely traumatized. Yeah, you have extremely everything. Traumatized, so you're anxious and you're avoidant. So exactly. Just comes in waves. Yeah, it does. And I've had to do a lot of work through that. But once I figured out what I was, it was like an epiphany moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is how I show up in relationships. Like I do all of these things. And so, yeah, I love learning. I
Yeah.
hated it, but I got like cognitive behavioral therapy, like workbooks. And then I
Wow.
did like workbooks through my attachment disorder, like everything. Like I really put in the work.
Yeah. I had an attachment theory expert on the podcast, and it was the most
Really?
just, I learned so much.
Did you know your attachment style before?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we like deep dived into it. So I'll send you the link to that
Yes,
episode
please.
so you can learn more about it. But I'm sure you've done your research. But yeah, I think healing is just this ever going process. And I also avoided healing
Yeah.
for the longest time. Never went to therapy for years, and actually took me going through a really traumatic breakup for everything to
Yeah.
just flow in front of
Yes.
me. And it just hit me in the face. It was crazy.
Exactly. That's how it
Yeah.
happens, and you don't expect it.
Yeah,
And
because
you're
it's an
like, where is
emotional
this coming
release. It's like,
from?
oh, I'm going through this, and like all these other things are coming up too.
Yeah, everything just like, it feels like everything just like stops. Like your life just
Mhm.
like halts, and like you're just like hit with this like grief or like
Yeah.
emotional attachment. Like you literally are like hit with a wall, and you have no other choice but to work through it.
Right. I'm trying to practice the law of detachment. I feel like that's
Yeah.
been like so helpful for me the last few years. It's just
Mhm.
detaching from like not everything, but
Yeah.
like trying to have a detached mindset towards just different opportunities and
Mhm.
these high expectations that I set for relationships, for myself, for my career. Like, I think we obviously need to manifest
Yeah.
these goals and dreams and aspirations. But I think whenever we set these really high expectations and attach ourselves on to these lingering thoughts,
Yeah.
it only ends in disappointment. So I think just like being flowy and free and enjoying the present is something that I've really tried to work on. That's
Yeah.
really helped me. But yeah, I think just grief is interesting in so many different ways. But I also think the most interesting part is like the way that people respond to it, if that makes sense. Like for me, I am so appreciative of like any like just nurturing words that anybody has ever said to me. But I noticed that the first thing that people say whenever they say they've lost somebody or are going through something really difficult is I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. And I hated it.
I hate it too.
It was like, even to this day, like if they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't be sorry.
It's not
Like,
your
yeah,
fault.
Like, I know. Like, yeah.
And I don't say it
Yeah.
anymore, but it's interesting how that became such a repetitive thing for people to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like, I like just hearing that, especially when it was happening, was so hard because it's the worst thing. Like for me, responding to I felt like pity, but responding to people like trying to approach you in sincere ways when they don't know what to say was like the worst feeling ever. Like I was trying to run away from it.
Mhm.
I just wanted to like go back into normalcy as soon as possible. And every time someone said, I'm sorry, or tried to show like empathy in any type of way, it just reminded me of it. And it like caused me to actually hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And yeah, I feel like obviously it's just so incredibly tragic that we have to go through that in life. But I don't think I would be the person that I am today if those things
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened. So I almost don't want people to apologize. It's like, it's just a part of life. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I had to go through it at a younger age.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think being there for your friends. And I think now going through that, I feel this need to be there for people that
Yeah.
are going through those things now. And yeah, I think it's like a really reflective moment too. And I've learned a lot. And I'm sure you have
gives
too.
you a strong backbone.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it definitely helped me get into the wellness scene. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that was a component of it for you too. I'd love to hear more about your work with Wthn.
Yes.
Because that was actually the first wellness space that I went to in New York
Really?
whenever I first moved here.
How was your experience?
So I had never done acupuncture before.
Okay.
And I loved it. I was so anxious. I just moved here. I was so overwhelmed. And I really just needed some anxiety relieving acupuncture. And I was having like some muscle tension. And yeah, my guy he hooked me up. And I walked
Good.
out feeling amazing.
Well, we'll get you into more treatments. You got to come.
I would love
We have
that.
3 studios now. But yeah, so after dancing and like after Miss America, like what I wanted my career to be was the hardest question for me to answer because it was so many different things before that I I had always dreamed of being a ballet dancer. Like there was nothing else that I really dreamed of in my career. And so I ended up working in politics, and then I worked in digital marketing. But then after getting really involved in health and wellness, my own personal life through like my autoimmune disease, I knew that I wanted to work in the health and wellness scene. So after Bachelor in Paradise, I applied to so many jobs, and I came across Wthn on LinkedIn, and I saw the job opening and I was like, this is it. Like I have to get this job. Ended up getting it. And now I feel like, I don't know if you feel this, but like being at my age now, I feel like I've come to a place where I've really pinpointed what I'm good at in my career and what makes me happy. And I feel like I'm finally at a place where I'm like on the right trajectory. I feel like in your early 20s, you work a lot of jobs just to make money and like you're not making a lot of money. And then a lot of times you're working things that you really don't like, and it can feel like really defeating.
Yeah.
But working at Wthn, which is a holistic health and wellness company, they're a startup, acupuncture and cupping studio, and they have, I like to call it girly swirly health and wellness products.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So they have like herbal supplements, beauty tools rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, and they're in like Erewhon, Nordstrom, like a bunch of different like girly swirly retailers, and I work with all women.
Swirly.
I love it.
I love it.
So it's given me an outlet to figure out that I am just like naturally really gifted in social media management for brands, and I've really deep dive into that. I feel like I tried to run away from like working in social media my entire life because like I did it for myself for so many years. Like I just hated how like tedious it is. Always got pushed it. And then I was like, okay, fine. We're finally going to embrace this. So this is my first time actually working full time in social media and brand marketing. And I love it. Like I feel like I get to be creative every single day. I get to work on not only social media, but like product campaigns and launches, their email marketing. And I get to do it with bunch of badass women.
Yeah.
Like I work with only girls, and it's a female founded company. And so Wthn has just truly been, it's a hustle. It's a startup. So we work a lot. But Wthn has truly been like, it feels like a dream job every time I get to talk about it. And I get to realize that like, wow, like I am living in New York City. I work in social media for a holistic health and wellness female founded company. Like I don't think I ever had these dreams, or like being like young and going through like those hard times. I don't think this was even a dream that I could have thought about at a young age, but just like rolling with the punches through life and just taking things like day by day and step by step. And like, I don't know, it's a journey to get to like the place where you feel like you're happy with like your career in your life and you're never going to expect it, but like finally being here. I don't know. I'm just really proud of myself.
Yeah, you're living your dream life.
Yeah, basically.
I love that.
I would love to make more dreams happen, but that's what New York is for.
Exactly. The perfect place, so much opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think it's crazy because that is just so incredible. And we're always just wanting more out of life,
Yeah.
which I think is so healthy and so fun, and it just gives us so much room for growth. But I think it's great to sit and like relax and really celebrate what you have currently. And I think you should be really, really proud of yourself. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. And like everybody, we're all hustlers here. So like
for sure.
everybody works their butts off. So it's really happy to just be like surrounded by that environment.
The
too.
grind.
Yeah.
I love it too. Yeah. And I think it takes a certain type of person to really crave that and want that and be here. And I think that's amazing. But yeah, I just love that you're into all of the wellness stuff. And I'd love to hear more about your routines and just the things that you love. Maybe some new wellness practices that you've implemented into your life. And yeah, if there's anything specific that you just want to like go off on a tangent of, like, feel free.
Well, we can walk through like some of the things that I've purchased recently that have truly changed my life. One is Oura Ring. You have it too.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I like never take it off. This has helped me. I mean, I was an Apple Watch junkie before, but it's helped me like get in tune with like what I'm doing like every single day that changes like habits. So like what I'm drinking or what I'm eating, that's going to change how I sleep. Like when am I stressed during the day, and like what am I doing during the day to like work around that. So my Oura Ring, and then my Hatch alarm. I
want one.
You need to get one because I am not a morning person at all. I am now. Like I wake up at like 5:30.
Nice.
So I'll go through my routine. Like my Hatch alarm goes off. I wake up at 5:30. I like put on gym clothes. I do my little Equinox workout.
Oh my gosh, we should go together.
Yes, we should.
Yeah, with our Oura rings.
With our Oura rings, exactly.
Which is, by the way, so humbling. The stress level, so humbling.
Yeah, and I know I'm stressed too, and I like being able to look back at the chart and be like, oh, well, that was when I was trying to catch my train. Yes. Or like, oh, that's when something happened at work and I got really stressed out.
Absolutely. Okay, so workout. What do you do next?
Yeah. Oh, I also...
Or what are you doing for workouts?
That's a good question. I've gone through so many phases of like what I should be doing for workouts. And because of my Hashimoto's, my body is very prone to being inflamed. And one thing that I'm trying to do is always navigate my stress levels because I don't want to spike my cortisol. So I've learned that low impact but weighted workouts mixed with a little bit of Pilates is like my body's like dream like configuration, and everybody's different. So my workouts always start with lifting heavier, not super heavy, but like heavier weights to like build the muscle group that I want to work on. I'm always trying to get like a little booty because like I don't have boobs. So like you got to work on something else.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll always start off like with a stronger weight, doing a couple of exercises to really like target growth. And then throughout the middle of my workout, I mix in like strength building with some cardio movements. So either that's like jumping ropes or skaters, or even just like small cardio movements that aren't going to spike my cortisol levels, that it's not like I'm like running on the treadmill or anything like that. And then I end it with like Pilates burnouts. And then I completely cut out cardio except for walking. Walking has been like the best thing that's ever changed my life. I think it's really leaned me out because like it's a form of cardio that isn't going to inflame me. It's not going to stress me out. Because if I'm doing like really, really, really high intensity workouts, that's going to spike my inflammation because my body's going to see it as like high stressors.
Right.
And so it's really just like finding what works out for me. And I love working out by myself because I don't like someone screaming at me telling me what to do. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so love that because I'm such a low impact girly.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just related to everything you just said. It's helped me tremendously. And yeah, I think I used to push myself so hard. And it just made my body so inflamed. And I was so stressed all the time.
And it did nothing. Like I was working out so much, like lifting weights, like trying to run like 3 miles every single day. And like I didn't see any improvement. Moving your body and not stressing you out.
Making you feel good. I feel like it's important to really monitor how you feel after a workout.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you feel exhausted and depleted after a workout, then that's not the workout for you.
Yeah. But I think like the biggest thing when it comes to like health and wellness is really just healing your gut from within. And so I take a lot of supplements. I also do a lot of like lymphatic drainage massages, not only on my face, but like on my body. I use body gua shaing tools. I dry brush every single night before I go into the shower. I also tongue scrape in the morning.
Me too. I love it.
It's great for setting up your lymphatic drainage system for the rest of the day. Also, so you're not consuming like bacteria that's been lying on your tongue all day. Also, really try and make sure that I take like herbal teas at night that help like regulate my digestive system. And then another thing is, this isn't for everyone, but because of my Hashimoto's, I'm gluten-free and I try to be dairy-free because I've noticed such a huge difference in like how it inflames me. And I think like being able to live a very healthy lifestyle, I've become really in tune to my body. I told you this morning that I went out drinking a lot last night. And so I was like, I am puffy. But being able to just like feel that in my body has been like the biggest change. And so when you're living a healthy lifestyle, you really have like a relationship with yourself and your body that it's very different. So yeah, it's always about like learning what your body likes and what it doesn't like, and fine-tuning the process of what your routine looks like.
For sure. For sure. I sometimes get bored with my routine. So
really?
Learning to like find some new things that you can implement, mix it up and make it exciting. I think it's just about like romanticizing it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me so happy and it makes me feel like such a better person, especially just like getting that workout in the morning. I'm so much more productive. I'm more on my game throughout the rest of the day. Like I'm just like filtering my day with positive energy because like I showed up for myself in the morning, and then I like to like listen to podcasts after I work out. Like, and then at night I love to like make sure I'm reading, I'm making a tea that's going to help my digestive system. So I'll always do like a nighty-night tea with dandelion root because it's really good for your gut. And then I'll read because it calms me at night. I will use an LED light. And then this is a little woo-woo, but I've started meditating with crystals on my chakra points.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I
Yeah.
have my crystal here with me.
Really?
Yes. I have the god. It's like supposed to help with like goddess energy.
Oh, really? Which one?
I don't know what type it is. I was at this random crystal store in LA.
Yeah.
I go to this psychic there. I'm obsessed with her.
Okay, yeah.
Every time I'm in LA, I'm obsessed. I bring all my friends and yeah, it's a crystal store. And she
Yeah.
told me that I was like giving off goddess energy and I got
love
the
that.
crystal and I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I got a Reiki reading for the first time like a month ago by Donnie.
Is she here?
She works out of New York, but I
Okay.
met her through working at Wthn. She's a Reiki master and she started a fine jewelry brand called Highlight Rituals. And so she'll charge and she'll do like ceremonies for all of her crystals and then create them into fine jewelry and then you can buy them and wear them. But she did like a Reiki reading on me and I just learned so much about myself through that. Like she said that I give off like very like sunshine yellow energy. Apparently my spirit animal is a bee.
Oh, cute. Wait,
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out my spirit animal.
Really?
I need to go to her.
She told me. Yeah.
Yeah, I need her
Hers
information.
is a swan. Mine's a bee.
Oh my gosh, cute.
But so many different things. And then she gave me crystals.
I feel like mine's a deer.
Yeah, maybe. I can see that. Deers are really cute.
Oh my gosh, thanks. You're so sweet.
But yeah, one of the crystals that she told me that I needed to get was, I think it's called Angelite. And
Ooh.
it's about like connecting to like the spiritual realm and like ancestors.
Oh, I
Not
love
necessarily
that.
like our
Yeah.
dead parents,
Like
but
ancestral,
like, yeah.
like-
She said that I have like something in the spiritual realm like watching over me. So that was really comforting to hear.
That is so
But
comforting.
yeah, so she's given me some crystals. I place them on like certain chakra points. One of the ones that I'm using is malachite and I'm placing it on my heart chakra. I have a crystal that I place on my forehead for clarity and then a couple of other ones for like grounding. And so this is so weird, but I do feel like it's helped me in a lot of regards. Maybe it's just my own mind, but
No.
I love it. So I'll meditate with those on my chakra points. I have like an LED sunflower, so it hits like all the points of my face. So I'll like put it between my legs, like meditate with my chakra points for the amount of time that the LED light has to work. And then yeah, I'll go to bed.
I'm doing that.
Yeah, you should. It's like
implement. That is so fun.
my roommate, I just like pray to God she doesn't like walk into my
Oh my
room while I'm just like
gosh.
lying here with this red LED face mask, like listening to meditative music with like crystals all down
Wait, I
me.
feel like Greer would just join you.
Yeah,
She
no,
would just like
literally.
lay right next to you.
But also it's like my LED mask, like I don't know the science behind it, but I like do it like basically naked because like I want it to hit all of my skin. So like it's a sight.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. No, I'm totally doing
yeah,
this. I'm
no, that's my
obsessed.
new like woo-woo health and wellness thing. that
What
I've
type of
started.
meditation do you do?
Honestly, I'll just do a lot of like guided meditations
Love.
from like Spotify, or my Hatch has really great meditations that I use too.
Yes, I forgot that they have meditations on
Yeah,
there.
no, you
I
gotta
have
get
to
a
get.
Hatch.
I have to get it.
Yeah. Also, I've read that in order to like wind down at night, it's harsh lighting is really hard on your body and on your circadian rhythm. So all of the lights that I use in my room are amber lights to help like wind me down at night too.
I need to do that too. My
Yeah.
friend has that and it's just so relaxing.
It's so relaxing. I think it helps me go to sleep a lot easier.
for sure.
And then I'll have a good little night's rest. I try and sleep on my back. I also nose tape and mouth tape.
Ooh,
so I
nose
got-
tape and mouth tape?
Yeah, so I mouth tape for like normal mouth taping benefits for I don't know, just like your gut health, your mouth health,
Right,
and
right.
then also like to snatch the jaw.
Oh.
But also, I got a nose job like in 2020.
Oh my gosh. She's
and
beautiful.
Thank you. I know he did such a good job. But it I nose tape to help like decrease swelling on the nose
Oh, I
overnight
see.
and then like restore its shape. But anybody can do it too.
Oh, okay.
So,
good to know.
yeah. I also recently bought like, have you seen those like jaw straps
Yes.
that go over your ears?
Yes.
I've recently purchased one. I haven't used it yet, but I'll
Wait,
let you know how it goes.
I'm cracking up. Like, just imagine
That will be me.
like corpse, like laying with like all of the
that
things on your
stuff.
face.
Yeah, this
Oh
is
my
why I'm
gosh.
single.
No. I think it's like so fun.
Yeah,
because
it is.
I love how they say like the uglier you go to bed, the like prettier
The hotter
you wake up.
Yeah. Yes, I'm a full believer in that.
Yeah.
But also, I think like being in health and wellness, like I love spending time by myself because I
Me too.
put routines in my life that like make me look and feel so much better. So I can spend an entire Saturday in New York City like by myself and like it will be the best day ever.
Oh,
like
for
I'll go to a
sure.
bookstore, I'll read, I try and go on like a 3 to 5 mile walk like once a weekend. I'll get a coffee, listen to a podcast, I'll manifest, and just like having that lifestyle where like you can be happy by yourself too.
Yeah.
So important.
Dating yourself is great.
Yeah.
There's
it really
no
is.
problems. There's no drama.
Yeah.
It's just you, a good book, nice
Yeah.
little coffee.
I know. And I think like one thing that's changed my reading habits is talking about like a lot of things that we've gone through, a lot of really hard things that like shaped us into the people that we are, and like being able to share those stories.
Yeah.
I'm so drawn to memoirs. And so they're my
Ooh.
favorite thing to read right now. I actually just bought one yesterday. I forgot the name of it, but I think it's called It's like Your Body Feels It in Your Bones or something like that.
Ooh.
I need to look it
Is
up.
it Your Body Keeps the Score?
No, I have
No.
that one too, but it's a memoir about someone who dealt with complex PTSD from her childhood
Wow.
and how she found that out through therapy being in New York City and how she worked through that from like abusive childhood. So I think there's like so much beauty in memoirs and there's so much that you can learn. I think it's called like you know it in your bones or something.
We'll link it in the show
Yeah.
notes. Yeah.
It's amazing. But
I love
also like
that.
crying in H Mart's really good. Like, so my biggest passion is just like I love like listening to people's stories and like what people go through to create them the person that they are today. Because everybody has a story.
Absolutely. And I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like so cool to like somehow be a part of that, even if you're just a bystander reading about their life. And I think just all of the trial and error is a part of life. And yeah, I think we all go through it. If we all had it perfectly figured out, life would be really boring.
Oh my gosh, yes. Another book recommendation, if people are into like self-healing and self-help and like therapy and memoir stuff, is and it really changed my life. It's called Good Morning Monster.
Mhm.
It's about a therapist and her 6 like most triumphant cases that she's worked on over the course of her career. And it's how people come in with specific problems that are really minute and how through therapy it's uncovered a lot of things that they've dealt with in life and then how they mentally process it, work through it, and become like a better version of themselves. And so it's really inspiring.
That's amazing. I love all these racks. I have a Kindle, so I'm going to be downloading all of these.
Yeah. Start with Good Morning Monster.
Good Morning Monster.
my
I know. That
favorite.
sounds like something I would like.
So funny enough that the girl who recommended it to me was one of my old coworkers in Charleston. And it was when we both found out that we had disorganized attachments together.
Oh my
she
gosh.
recommended me this book.
Wait, maybe that's like why I'm attracted to it. I'm like, I have to read it.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I like love books like that, and I've been reading so much fiction, and I need that. So
Oh, it's so good.
yeah,
Good
I'm
for the soul.
excited. Well, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but if you were to drink a martini in a bikini,
Ooh.
where would you be, and what would you be drinking?
If I could drink martini in a bikini, where would I be? I have never been to Australia, but I've been dying to go. I feel like I could move there and never return.
I could so see
like,
that.
yeah, like it's Sydney, Melbourne, the Gold Coast, like Bondi Beach, anywhere. But let's say Bondi Beach. And what was the second question?
What would you be drinking?
Ooh, probably on the beach, I'd have a glass of rosé with some oysters.
Ooh, that sounds lovely. I love a good oyster.
Me too.
Yum.
They're my favorite.
I know. It's like the perfect summer snack.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Davia.
Thank you for having me.
This was so fun. One
I
last
know.
cheers.
Yes.
I always forget about the martini, honestly. I just like have so much fun talking.
I
and
know.
I forget
love
all
it.
about her. But I love it.
It was yummy.
But thank you so much. This was like such a refreshing conversation. And I just like loved learning more about you and
Oh,
your
thanks.
story. And I know that you've been on television and you're on social media, but like getting to sit down with you and getting to like really hear it from your perspective and just more in depth about what makes you you is so great.
I appreciate it. Well, I hope like people learned something.
I learned a lot.
I know. Cheers to being in our healing eras.
Yes. Yeah, embracing the healing era.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep, and being single.
Oh, yeah. We love that too. Embracing that.
Yeah.
So fun.
So fun.
It is. It is.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's seriously the best. And yeah, I love how you're dating yourself and doing all these fun things. And now I'm going to go do that. That's going to be the rest of my Sunday. You've inspired me.
I love it.
But if you want to share how people can be friends, how they can connect, how they can stay in touch with everything that you're doing, maybe try out Wthn products, go to Wthn.
So you can, for personal, you can follow me at Davia Esther, Davia. That's for Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And then if you want to get into some self-love in New York City, or if you're in LA and you want to try some herbal supplements, the company that I work for is called Wthn, WTHN, and you can follow them on social media. But don't judge their socials too hard because I do it, and if you don't like it, it will make me cry.
Oh my gosh, no, you're doing such a good job. I'm like always fangirling. It like looks so good. You're just, again, so multifaceted, and it's such a pleasure to be able to sit here and have a chat with you.
Thank you. You too. I love this.
I'm sad it's over.
I know.
Well, if you guys like this episode, please feel free to like, rate, and subscribe to Martinis and Bikinis on Spotify or Apple. You can also watch our full episodes on YouTube, which is so exciting. So go check that out. Give us a little follow on there. We need some more subscribers. And yeah, the best way to support this podcast is by liking, rating, subscribing. And yeah, it definitely doesn't go unnoticed by me. And I would love if you could take some time out of your day to do that real quick. And again, I'll love you forever. And I'll see you next week. Cheers.
Yay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Boom. Yay.
Yay.